for a few seconds, but you'll let me know because you'll know before me.
Oh.
Last time you knew before me.
I think I went to the page.
Are you good to go?
I am good to go.
Okay. Oh shoot, there were some things I had to do.
Good. We have plenty of time.
I'm writing, are you okay in these times? We're not live yet, just so you know. Is that a good title, you think? Are you okay in these times?
Yeah. My first thing I'm going to say is I hope you're not.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
Yeah. I'll edit it later. I just don't care about it right now. Oh shit. I think that we're live now. You let me know.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're live. Give me a sec.
There's people watching, so I guess we're really on. I don't know how to turn off the notifications so you don't get the dings in the background the whole time, but
I don't know how to do that. Hey everybody, thanks for being patient. We're gonna need a minute.
I think we're okay. Okay. It's hard because it's like when you watch it on the thing, you don't always see everything that's going on. So maybe later we'll be able to check the comments and figure things out as we go. But right now I'm not going to even look at the Facebook. I'm just going to be on the Zoom. So maybe Maura can check since she's looking at it that way. Oh, there's my husband. That's okay. You are. All right.
Okay, so I'm not able to, oh, here we go. No, that's not. I don't know why it's not coming up on your page on my phone.
But I saw it when I was over there.
First 3 minutes of our technology always works like this, so I'm okay with that. I hope.
And that's usually how it goes when people.
Well, the rest of the world finds us. I hope they're okay with that too. So.
Yeah. Oh, there's already some comments. Okay.
But right now,
Janine says woohoo. Linda says hi. Thanks, guys, for being.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being patient.
Yeah, there's 10 people watching, but I don't know who they all are. Or 11. Okay.
So when I go to your page, Rebalance with Karen Foote, I'm not finding your live for today.
It was somewhere up high.
I found it.
Somewhere turning red.
Okay. So let's kick it off.
I got my amethyst. Hi. Moonstone. So yeah, and just to say, oh, I don't have my cards, the ones that I pulled out handy, but I pulled some amazing cards in preparation for this. So, so we're supported. Me and Maura were talking for a little bit beforehand, and the energy is definitely strong.
Notifications. Does that mean people can't comment? Because somebody said they can't comment.
Maybe they can't comment. I don't know if they have to be. I don't think you have to like my page to comment. I think they could just comment.
Oh, right. Okay.
No idea.
So let's officially open and welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited to be here with Karen Foote and for us to start to talk about some things that are really important with everything that's going on. So I don't want to say welcome Karen. You're like, no, I'm welcoming you.
I'm just a facilitator.
But the angels have been, you know, two things, very busy and yet almost holding back, waiting to see what's transpiring because of what a big time this is in our history and most especially for our country. So as people are jumping on, and you can start to see that our title of today is, Are You Okay? You know, in the chaos. And I said to Karen, the first thing I want to say is, I hope you're not. I'm not okay. I know Karen's not okay. None of us should be okay with what's going on, but we do have to start asking the questions of what is it that we need to do to make the change and make things better. So there's some hard questions we have to start asking, and if you're not already asking them, and that's where this is coming from. That's why we're starting to have these talks and things. And so I'm going to tell you right from the beginning, we're starting right now. I want everybody to pay attention right now to your posture and your flow of your energy. If we're sitting so much in slouched positions and we've been home a long time, 11, 12 weeks, and we're not paying attention to that flow, just starting there is a great place and a reminder. So whenever anybody watches this, whether you're watching us now or whether you watch this later, it doesn't matter. Every day you should be reminded of checking in with your own posture and your own flow. And you doing so many things with massages and body work and energy and Reiki, I'm sure you can weigh in on that.
Yeah, I mean, always the bottom line is grounding. So with the lockdown, I've had a lot more time to sleep in, first of all, and then go exercise and be by trees. And I've been making that like a daily habit where I just get outside and move my body. So keeping that energy open, and then sitting in meditation to consciously like open things up and like let the light flush through as a way to keep us clear and keep us grounded and connected. It's just a regular practice, whether it's, in meditation or in physical activity, but just staying connected to your breath and connecting to nature. So that's just like the bottom line, but movement is essential and lots of water, which
right now,
I'm drinking too much coffee today.
Well, since we're all starting together right now, or whenever you watch this, I want everyone to take that collective breath. If you have to close your eyes, because what we're doing is we're arriving here and we're actually facilitating the changes while we're doing this live Facebook. So I want you to take a deep breath. I want you to take a moment, because I'm asking our spirit guides and higher selves and higher angels and teachers that can help us and guide us and lead us. I'm asking them to step in and align us, but most importantly, to open up our hearts and open up our ears so that we can hear and start to get aligned with what it is that we need to do from today forth. And so the first thing I'm being reminded of is there's a lot of things that we've said, and this is going to start personal first, and then we'll go out more globally. But when we start not paying attention to our energy of what we're thinking about all the time. So I can't tell you how many people have said, I can't believe it's been 11, 12 weeks and I didn't do that diet, or I didn't clean the house, or I didn't finish that project, or I didn't do. If we're dragging weight with us that we right now in this moment, and tomorrow's the full moon, right now in this moment, if you need absolution, we're giving it to you. Karen and I have that power vested in us from Spirit. We absolve you, let it go, put it down. We have too many bigger and more important things to worry about than starting to say, I should have, I would have, I could have, I wanted to stop. Today's a clean slate. It's a new day. And so when we talk about that, what we're bringing ourselves into is personal responsibility. So each of us is responsible. Our responsibility is to our own energy first, because what we're putting out into the world, we say it all the time, is actually making a difference. So if we're going to talk about the chaos, if we're going to talk about the quarantine, if we're going to talk about the racial issues in this country and the deep wounding, we need to pay attention to you. I have to pay attention to me. What am I doing daily? And it has to be daily, because we can talk about a lot about different things about how we feel and what we think. What are you doing? And so that's where people tend to get lost. And there's no shame in not knowing what to do, but let's start asking the questions. So we have to become really quick, brand new students today forth about what it is we need to learn to heal the stuff that's going on. And it's big stuff, but it's not impossible, which is why we need to do it all separately and yet together. So separately means you have to ask yourself the questions where you're at, and together means we need to join our light together to make a difference.
Because the macro is the micro. So it's just like we heal us, we heal the earth. Our the symptoms are reflected between what the earth is going through and what we're going through. So as a way to help us and help the planet work on ourselves and send energy through us and into the earth. And in my healing circles that I've been hosting weekly, we are getting images of the earth accepting our healing energy. And it's been pretty amazing and pretty incredible. So when I'm sitting there at the base of the tree, and I'm seriously doing this almost every day, it's stuff I would give advice to for people forever. And now I'm like really diligently following my own advice because I have the time, first of all, and it just feels that necessary. And like I said, my dog wasn't feeling well, so I didn't get to have my normal routine today. And I was so screwy that I ended up walking from like around 6 o'clock just to like chill myself out because I was feeling anxious. I'm anxious because of the collective energy. I'm anxious because my dog is sick. I'm anxious because I was going to be here and I felt like this big responsibility. But I went and I walked around the block. I looked at nature. I actually was walking with my husband. He's patient enough to deal with me now. So I'm like, just hang on a second. And I just like leaned on a tree as we were walking. And I was like, thank you, tree. Because it's like, I just needed that refueling and that discharging of energy.
Example of checking in. You were, number one, you identified how you're feeling. Maybe in the beginning you didn't know, but you got out there and then you started paying attention and then you started connecting with nature. So there doesn't have to be any preconceived learning about how to do it. Am I doing it wrong? Just go out and do it. You might be drawn to trees. Somebody else might be drawn to the ocean. We might be drawn to different parts of nature at different times in our life with whatever's happening with us emotionally. Start to check in with that, because we don't learn that language of ourselves and what we need. And that's going to help heal so many things. And if we can't heal and connect with these things, we can't possibly heal the bigger things that are before us.
And my business coach was asking me, or she was putting it out to her community, like, what is it that you want? Or what is it that you want to bring out? Or whatever it was. And my only answer was peace. It was just peace. And I said to her, I have no answers. All I have is peace. She's like, well, how do you do that? And I said, I don't know. She said, be peace, and then you'll create peace, so just work on being peace for yourself. And another girl I follow talks about, like, don't judge how you're processing this and how you're going through this. You're working we're all playing a role. Oh, great, my phone rings. This is the phone we don't answer. So it's just gonna ring, sorry. But we just, totally threw me off track. Sorry, I'll mute myself. You can talk if you want.
Well, I want to say that, you're talking about some things about creating peace, but we're going to go back to that original wounding in ourselves. So when people are reacting a certain way in life, maybe you learned it from grandparents, parents, society, maybe we grew up with people that were racist or acted a certain way, or didn't have patience with people, or didn't know how to pray or connect with nature. All of that there's a separation now. It doesn't matter what came in before. We need to heal and start acting different with ourselves now. So you want to ask yourself, what could have possibly happened to create how I respond in the world? And if it's something you're proud of, so what happened to me that created my response in the world? I pray a lot. My grandmother used to say she wears out her rosary beads. I do something similar. I'm always praying and meditating and things like that, because I need it to calm my anxiety, but then I can do the prayers and the different work that I want to do. So I was taught that by my mother. Some things we pick up that are not so angelic and lovely. So there's some rage and fury and anger I picked up from my father. So right now, although I can pray with the best of them, I am angry and hurt and sad and brokenhearted like everybody else about what's happened to George Floyd, what's happened to the many African-American communities, people of color, minorities. The list goes on of the injustices and the atrocities that are happening, and feeling helpless because there are people that absolutely want to help, and loads of people, and they're asking, what do we do? How can we do it? And these are the questions we have to ask. So what I'm going to say is this, if I could dive right into, you want to know what to do? I've been reading a lot of things about what to do. There is a list that says 75 things white people can do. That's the name of the list. And as I'm reading these lists, there's some things that, I know people write to congressmen and they make calls and things like that. That's not something I'm doing. What am I doing? Oh, and there's loads of books to teach your children how to communicate better, learn about different races and ethnicities and things. So there's education piece there. But me personally, I need to educate myself more about what the issues are and not how we react from the place that we're at now. So for instance, when there are many people, and I was one of them a long time ago, when the first time somebody said Black Lives Matter, I was a person who said all lives matter. I have since learned why that is not okay. So if you're one of those people who say that, but we don't really understand why, the answer is all lives matter equally. They should, but they don't, based on look at the evidence in this country. So when all lives do matter equally, that's when we can say that. So this is a big piece here. So we need to start saying Black Lives Matter, because we don't understand that Black lives need to matter just as much as everybody else's life, and we're not living that. And so there's so many layers of that and what that means, and we can only do that by educating ourselves, and that education has to come from being a continual brand new student. So if you come to this with what you knew before, you're already handicapping yourself. So it's like I have to put everything down, and I'm a brand newbie, and you explain to me or help me or ask questions or find people that know better than we do, read books, educate ourselves. That's where every one of us that are hearing this, every one of us should be doing that. Does that make sense?
I think so. I had shared, I think it was on my Facebook and also Instagram, but a video of Black parents talking to Black kids. And that was, you know, just so emotional, because it's horrible, you know, and the white privilege and understanding what white privilege is. And I don't want to curse. My name is Karen. I'm a meme, you know, for a privileged white girl.
One of my favorite ones because they're funny.
So it's just like, you know, my whole family teases me about that, but I'm not a typical Karen, but still, it's just like, yeah, just to be aware of that, have that awareness and that understanding. And I got really, really upset watching people complain about the riots. I'm like, are you freaking serious? Like, not that it's good, but come on, it's a symptom, you know, it's not. It's
well,
just,
when you tie people's hands and they have very few outlets, I'll go back to the first time, because these are tough things, you know, to talk about, but the first time Colin Kaepernick kneeled in a sporting event, I was very upset with that protest, because I did think it was a disrespectful showing of the American flag during a sporting event. And I've had people, friends of mine, come to me and say, I don't understand how you could possibly not back him for his peaceful protest. And I was adamant almost about how it's separate. The flag and what's going on and the sporting event are not the same thing. And now I've come to realize the whole point is what's being protested against is the injustices, is the inequality, and whatever ways can be found when they're completely shut down, which that was. Now they have to find other outlets, creates frustration and anger and bitterness and, you know, rage, and then that rage spills out into so many different things. And this extreme event is not, unfortunately, is not new. It's just the spotlight is on this one. We can't lose the momentum so that this slips under the rug until another atrocity happens, which we've been known to do in this country. The rage comes up and we all talk about it, and then everybody goes back to their lives, and that can no longer happen. The only way
one feels different. This is different though, because of all of the stuff that bubbled up because of COVID, you know, and all of the built up frustrations of that. So it's like, and everything lining up. Like I had posted, I forget where it is, I made a note of it, the astrological influences.
Okay.
So like the last time Saturn was in Aquarius was during the Rodney King riots. The last time Pluto was in Capricorn was during the American Revolution. And when Neptune was in Pisces, which is now, I guess, is when Rome fell. So it's like when we have all those three things happening right now. So it's like this churning pot, like boiling over, like this is necessary right now. And we as humanity need to fucking evolve, you know? So it's time. And this change is necessary. It's when we've been tuning in and doing these healing circles and we're sending energy to the planet, we're literally seeing a purging of gunk, you know? And it reminds me of like, if you've ever poached chicken, it's disgusting. It bubbles up and it's all slimy and nasty. I don't know if you've ever poached a chicken, but yeah, it's a quick way to cook a chicken breast. My kids like chicken salad. So, but it's really like foamy and disgusting on the top. So that's what I was seeing, like when I was doing these healings of the planet and of humanity at large. All of this is dredging up to the surface. That's Trump's role. Like, thank you, Trump. You've brought our ugliest, disgusting, festering wounds to the surface, and that's what's necessary to heal it. You know, it needs to be exposed in order to be healed. You know.
And speaking of that, we waste so much time and energy saying who's right and who's wrong, and politically, it's a depleting exercise. So whoever votes or is supportive of Trump, people are arguing against that. The people that are arguing against that are being fought against. And this goes back and forth and getting nowhere. So we're circling our own drain. And I almost want to say, what does it matter? The light that's being shown in the different places so that we can see and reveal what is, that's what's important. And now we need to do something about it. And what's not working in this country is white supremacy, inequality, injustices, and it has to start with your own energy. Who's ever listening, I'm listening, you're listening, your own energy. What are we doing? So I'm going to ask, what sounds are you putting out into the world? What hope are you putting out into the world? Even when we worry and we're scared and what are your conversations and who are you talking to? The complainers or and the judgment, like you said, we're judging looters and rioters. Nobody wants violence like that, but we're in a type of civil war that's happening and we can't add to it. We need to go back to our personal responsibility and do something about it.
Clean up your own mess. You know, that's the challenge that my business coach put out to her, community. Clean up your own messes. Like, my dad's a cop, retired cop, and he's very much still a racist. And he also has a big, huge heart for, he says whenever he pulled over a black guy, he never gave him a ticket because they have enough going on. So he's got that bit of compassion, but then he also can be a jerk and say dumb things. So when he makes racist jokes, I don't laugh and I call him out on it, and it's uncomfortable. But it's like, that's where those are those little changes that you need to make. You don't just nod awkwardly through through something that's bad. Call them out on it. Like, that's where the changes happen. Little micro changes.
List from the angels is holding other people responsible when they're your family, and I can tell you it is uncomfortable stuff. But until we do that, and I want to say this too, because this is an opportunity, and the angels are telling me this is like at the moment, this is an opportunity to find our own compassion and patience, because maybe what we were taught were, you're doing something wrong. That's also judgment. It's, I'm bringing to your attention something that I don't feel is right, or let's talk about it, or like I've had to say to people, every time you say all lives matter, this is what comes up. Education, we're educating people. And don't get me wrong, there's people that are going to tell you to flip off, like, especially if they're your family members, because they don't care or they don't want to hear it, or they aren't there yet. That's not the reason for the exercise. The reason is when we're calling out that injustice, it starts to loosen the hold and the grip that it has on repeating the cycles.
Right. I want to read what I channeled yesterday. So like yesterday, I was like all week, I'm like, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? What's going to come up? And then eventually I was like, just sit in like meditation, maybe something will come. And then I heard, just grab a pen. So I grabbed a pen. My handwriting was so bad though. Says you chose to be here at this time. So like, meaning like we all incarnated right now because we want to be witnessed and play a role in this massive human shift.
Agreed.
They call it global ascension, the new earth, 5D, from whatever. Depends on what community you're in and what language you speak. We feel helpless, but we aren't. We're taking action by being, by feeling. This unjust goes deep into our DNA. This is offering an opportunity to clean that up and out, to purge and clear, deprogram these old beliefs we all carry. We need to purge this, to clear it before we can heal it. See the balm laid out on these open and festering wounds. Balm as in like a healing balm. Call on help from our angelic brothers and sisters, our guides of light, asking, how can I be the change in this world? Oh, I'm going to cry, because it's like a St. Francis thing. I have a thing with St. Francis. But it's like, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Follow that guidance, that pull. How can I serve, Lord? I don't even talk this way. So this is how I know I challenge.
I'm writing from spirit, absolutely.
Yeah. Feel the despair, feel the hope, a time to come together and feel the peace. We're at a tipping point. More people want peace and love than those who don't, and we'll prevail. And actually, it said they'll prevail. I edited it because it's like they're third party, The tide has finally turned, untangling the stories from the past, releasing and relieving people from the stories they've told. A new chapter, laying it to rest, a time for healing and coming together. So, and this energy is so strong right now. My hands are like shaking.
Yeah. Well, it's really insane when we channel something from spirit, and anyone can do that. If you want to sit down with your pen and sit down with your spirit guides, or ask your angel or angels to be with you and just put pen to paper and start writing, you'd be amazed at what comes out when you don't sit there and say, I can't do this. But that's another way to get a message just for yourself, and you can practice it and see what happens. We'd love to hear back from, you know, you exercising that and seeing what comes from that. But I like what you're saying about, you know, are we an instrument of peace? Are we creating and sowing? What are we sowing? What, you know, meaning sowing. What are we putting out there to get back? And we talk about law of attraction so often, but are we actually paying attention and being aware and living it? Because we do have fears. We fear for, I have interracial members of my family, especially little ones, my nephew, and extended family. And what are we doing for them? What world are they going to be in? I have fears about that. And educating them is one thing, protecting them is another, but we need to open the conversations. And what you said about calling people on it, I think a lot of people are going to have some discomfort from it because it's new and it's sensitive situations. And it's not like just calling people out on their political stuff, because this is core ancestral wounding and cycles that repeat, like we've said a bunch of times now. And we need to, the only way to start healing them is to start speaking about them.
Mm-hmm. And that we finally are getting that real dialogue now, it feels like. And I mean, there's articles I've seen that were written, you know, months ago, years ago, but they're all coming to the surface right now. And it's so important. And that's like part of the whole, like this week or Tuesday or whatever, however long you want to make it be, but just to take the time to listen and hear and notice and feel and understand. Like, I kind of understood. I'm pretty sure I had pretty compassionate views and understanding, but not to the depth that I have in just the last couple of days. You know, it's just,
there's so much to learn. And I was drawn to, on that list of books that I read, you know, the list to say, what do I want to learn? I want to start from so many different places. But the first one that I wanted to buy and read is called The Color of Law. And I think this is probably backwards, but
no, it's not.
What?
It's not backwards.
Okay. The Color of Law, this book, which I'm going to say again, from an education standpoint, I had no idea that here, I'm just going to read something from here, if I can find it. But the whole point that, here, the powerful and disturbing history of residential segregation in America. One of the great strengths that this author has, this is somebody, you know, reviewing it, the account and the sheer weight of the evidence that he brings. And what it's about is they've gathered meticulous research showing how governments at all levels long employed racially discriminatory policies to deny Black people the opportunity to live in neighborhoods with jobs, good schools, and upward mobility. And from the time of the 50s or wherever they state this started. But I want to read all about this. I just got this.
My sister was telling me, like, you know, the men that fought in World War II came home and with the GI Bill the white guys were able to buy a house. They were, I don't know how it works, if they were given money towards it, whatever, but Black people weren't. It's like, that's where that white privilege comes from, the handing down generationally of money. And how right off the bat, they're at a disservice.
Equality. And then the other thing that I thought was absolutely fascinating, I'm going to find the exact number. But I'm going to say something like 155 years ago, 3 months, 5 days, and 72 seconds. 155 years ago is when the Confederacy surrendered so that we could end slavery.
My husband said the reason,
years ago.
I know, my husband said the reason why it never got sorted out was because Abe Lincoln was shot. So if Abe Lincoln wasn't shot, there was things going to be set up that were going to help. And it's like, that's a long time ago.
But that's also a little bit of a cop out again, because that goes every person in history is supposed to be a vehicle to take us so far.
Mhm.
And we dropped the ball, right? So who picked up that vehicle? And now here we are in a vehicle. Where are we going with this? And I'd like to think that this is the vehicle that we're in, like you said, collectively, our souls connected, soul contracts. We came here for whatever reason. We chose to be here at this time. We need to take responsibility for that. And I'm going to go to the next place that's never easy for me to talk about, but our responsibility. When people say to fix and heal, it's not our responsibility, but actually right now it is our responsibility to help heal what's going on. And we have to ask about your compassionate heart. I always have said this since the beginning of my journey here. It's so easy to pray for the Mother Teresas of the world. Who's praying for the people that are doing the atrocities, the people that are the murderers, the people that are doing some horrific things that you don't want to say? I'm not praying for them. I'm not sending them love and light. Why would everyone right now is sending a lot of hate and a lot of anger and a lot of fear and a lot of, so which is evident not just in the riots and the acting out, but personally. And so there is a small majority of people that are praying for the police, the 4 policemen that are charged. And it is a sensitive topic, because who wants to talk about praying for them or sending them any love after what they've created? But they've also, like a lot of political things, have now shining the light exactly where it needs to be shown about what's wrong. So in a way, they're fulfilling their duty to shine the light of what we have to fix.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really uncomfortable for me to talk about as well, because I would love to not be tapped on the shoulder to pray for them. In other words, it's not easy. It's not easy. We're all happy praying for George Floyd's family. Like, that's who we want to stand with. But in reality, if we don't break that connection to that angry heart so that we can heal, we're going to keep repeating ourselves. It's tough stuff. But I still think we can do it. We just have to reach into our bags of spirituality. Remember that we have spirit help. We have guides and angels and God and ascended masters, people that you pray to or who you feel connected to. And I'll always go back to, not today, but exploring that for yourself. Who is it that you connect to spiritually that you can call your help? And if you don't know, that goes back to your page of, you need to find out. It's time to start asking those questions so that you can have a working relationship with your spirit team.
Yeah, you just call on higher, your angelic brothers and sisters. I said something like that in my thing. Yeah, call on help from your angelic brothers and sisters, your guides of light. You don't have to name names, but if you feel a connection or affinity towards a certain ascended master or whatever, call them in. They're there. They're happy to surround you, and create that space to get quiet and to tune in and to trust that their presence is there. And the more you are in that space, the more you can acclimate to it and recognize their entrance. Like, you'll feel like company.
The shift that happens.
Yeah.
And if the more you do it, the easier it becomes, but the more connected you become.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm going to ask, we talk about racism being a global issue, but more this national issue in our country. I'm going to go to the next step of it being a spiritual issue. And that means, what are you calling on, since we're talking about higher beings and help, how are you drawing that down to send that to the racial problems? Because anybody that's non-white is being discriminated against in some way, shape, or form, in this country. And I keep talking about this country because this is where the focus needs to be. The rest of the world is watching us, not just from the COVID, not just from this quarantine and all the steps and missteps and things that we've taken, but now with all the rioting going on, they're looking at us and they've never seen this before. So this is all a new movie to them.
Right.
And so, not because we're being watched to look at what are we going to do next, but back to internally, what are we going to do next? What are you doing every day? And so I'm asking everybody, in Facebook land, you know, what are you doing spiritually to help the situation of racism? And, you know, sending love to the core wounding of how this started. Anne Murley has a lot of information about that. And next week, we're going to do some kind of ancestral healing at the core wounding of ancestral ties, which she's had a lot of luck with in her one-on-one healing practice with clients, and their ancestral wounding generations back that have been brought down through families, addictions, all kinds of different cycles that we don't have to get into. But this specific way of attacking, let's say, not the right word right now, but maybe it is, this wounding has to be healed from somewhere. And if we don't go to the core, and if we don't know how to do that individually, we start asking for that spiritual help.
Well, like yesterday, I sat down and I was like, okay, I would like to have some kind of inspired idea to contribute, because I know that you're going to talk a majority of the time, but I want to be able to contribute some stuff, you know. So I was like, you know, I got my, you know, I wrote all that stuff out, and then when I was done, I like opened my eyes and I looked over at my phone, and it had just lit up, and it was a YouTube alert or notification, and it was from some lady I don't even follow, and I was like, all right, and like I forget what the title was, but it was totally relevant to like whatever. And I opened it up and I listened to her, and she's somebody who's got like all these followers. I never heard of her before. I don't even remember her name, but so I wrote down some of the notes from her, and it's kind of answering what you're saying. So it's like nothing has really changed. We go through these cycles, but what can change is how we react to that. Let's use peace, because there's no power that can battle that and win, not ultimately. And then when you see this and go into fear, you are now fueling and feeding it, and don't get sucked in. So don't feed that lower frequency. If the structures are tumbling at high frequency, you fear nothing, you're indestructible. So focus on what you can do that's peaceful and most useful. So that's what I'm just seeing what else she said. When you use your actual spiritual power or highest frequency, you hold the power of the universe of one, and you're acting on that behalf, which means total peace, no judgment, and not getting sucked in. So to try and keep yourself from falling into those holes of fear and doubt and despair and worry and blame and all of that.
And also, we can't go back to sleep.
No.
We sleep to racism, or we've been, you know, we're awake now. At least most people, I'm going to say everybody should be.
On this call anyway.
We don't get to walk away from everything that's going on right now. At least, you know, if you've been called to do something about it, even if you don't have the answers. My hope is that we answer that call. We can answer it together, but we have to answer it individually. So they're asking for a commitment from each of us to be a real ally in this fight against racism. And maybe we have to stop calling it a fight. I want to call it healing. This healing, now is the time. There is no other time. This is the time. And like you said, to break this cycle so that it's permanently broken, it's going to take a lot of us. We can't do it individually, but it does start individually to make the changes before we can ever move forward.
Yeah, and I had another thing I had written from a class I took last week, and she said, like, not everything must collapse violently. So to kind of like strike that belief that everything doesn't have to be a huge disruption, it can go peacefully. And but that also that the hardest things cause the greatest growth. So it's like, this is, you know, a hard time, but it's also so beyond necessary.
It is necessary. And Caroline Mace, I follow her. Her last name is M-Y-S-S. Most people think it's Miss, but Caroline Mace. She said, we need to all become active agents of change. And that active means going back to the questions. What can I do? What can I learn? What can I ask? Who can I talk to? And to be that student. And every thought of light that we put out changes the collective consciousness in the world. We say it all the time. I think it's in every Zoom, Facebook message reading that we do. Whatever light, and light means prayer, love, you can just sit in the energy of a frequency. John's drumming and, you know, chakra bowls, humming, singing, song. Each bird, I was sitting outside, I love listening to the birds. Each bird has a separate song. And as they're putting their songs out, other birds are singing and other birds are coming to sing. That's what we need to do. What are you singing or talking or humming or oming or, you know, and that goes back to, are you complaining? Are you yelling? Are you crying? And not that emotions aren't okay, they are, but your aura, your vibe, that all, your light, that all matters. And I don't know that we're getting that point across, even though we talk about it a lot. Now's the time for that lesson to be learned. So
And
that
no, sorry. But like seeing the people, seeing the cops take a knee, and then the people just collapsing in tears and hugging, like, oh my God, like that, that's what we need to see more of. And just, or people taking a stance like Gandhi, just the silent protests, like peaceful protest, like the truly, truly like super quiet kind of, I feel like if everyone took that stance, the ripple effect of that would go even deeper. And it's upsetting seeing some of the, the police brutality being, the protest for police brutality ending up in more police brutality.
Well, the extremes are, if we said all police are bad, all people of color are bad, all white people are bad, all, like, if we don't start paying attention to who's ever bad or not, acting this way, those are the ones who have to be held accountable instead of lumping everybody into
Right.
a certain, belief system. Then our police would be safe, because there's a lot of places they are not safe, obviously, right now. There are police stations being burned down, and, there are ways to protest and to push back in, humanely and in some type of forms that you can get the point across. But we're off balance right now, rightfully so, understandably so, but we need to do better.
I feel like, yeah, we've passed the tipping point. I feel like we're on the better side of change, but it doesn't mean that it's over. It's just kind of beginning.
This is a new beginning, but I have to laugh at when they're talking about COVID, the angels and spirit, and how, we got so distracted, but, by this. It doesn't mean that's over either. We're supposed to be learning a whole, and there's a bigger picture. There's always a bigger picture, but this is a bigger picture, and these are parts of them. These are pieces of this puzzle. That's not over either. We're supposed to be learning a new way of respect, how we respect. How many things did we need? Did we need to go to all the restaurants and buy all the clothes and do all the shopping and kill all the oceans and do, like, how are we living, right? So we got knocked on our butts to stay at home with a virus so that we can look at what our footprint is. And some people are going to miss it and go right back out there and go back to the way they were living. And my hope and my prayer is that we don't do that. And so sometimes people are going to rush out there, and there's going to be that second wave of things to get us back. It's like, how quick are we going to learn? How often do the kids have to be put in timeout till they learn the lesson? That's us. We keep doing wrong things, and I'm going to say they're wrong because we're making choices that are not healthy, that are not respectful, that are not spiritually authentic. And look at how many people have discarded their gloves and masks in places that you look around and you say, have we learned nothing? And okay, I'm not going to say all people are bad because we just talked about that. But the people that are doing that, you have to ask yourself, what is going on? What is going on with that lack of responsibility and the lack of care for our world? And that goes back to the core wounding. So we come right back again to how wounded could somebody be to not care what they're doing with the, with garbage and littering and things like that, and that it matters.
Yeah. While you were talking, and I was still in the old thought, not the thought that you just said, but I got Jesus and forgiveness, so it's just like the need to ask for forgiveness, to seek forgiveness, forgive ourselves, and to release that, the burden that we've been carrying, the guilt and the ancestral line all the way down. I don't know, it just seemed relevant to that.
I'd like people to ask themselves each day. We need to ask ourselves, how can I do better? What can I learn today? How can I do better? My personal self do better living, learning, and what can I do to help? And when we start asking those questions and we get the answers and start acting on them, so we ask the questions, we get the information, and then there has to be action to make a difference, that's when the shift happens, and happens quicker, especially if we're doing it collectively.
It says, you don't have to forget what has happened, but you no longer need to allow your whole story to be defined by a situation that doesn't support your happiness.
Well, because we're undoing our personal history as well and our personal wounding.
Mm-hmm.
We can have a new story, almost like cleaning out the skeletons in the closet, so that we can have a closet that's brand new, And what are we going to fill it up with? The same stories from before and rewounding? Because that's what we're doing. We keep rewounding. And now we have the opportunity to start fresh.
It really feels that way to me. I feel like this purging and this opening up the communication and really listening to the pain that our, African American brothers and sisters have been carrying for decades, hundreds of years, is so important to just give them that voice,
And I want to ask people, it must be uncomfortable for people to say, I don't really understand it all. But the truth is, you don't understand it all. We don't understand it.
Yeah.
And we can never understand personally what it feels like to be them.
But it's something we've never really given voice to, even though we can't possibly understand it, and if, all you guys believe in past lives and all, we've been everyone throughout, you've been a Black woman, you've been a Black man, you've been a slave, you've been the master, it's like we've been through all these cycles to give us an understanding too. So it's like, it might be in this life that you can't understand, but somewhere you probably were that role. So.
Right. And I always say in every past life class that, in this life, you're the good guy, you're the bad guy, you're the mother, you're the father. And now we go up and come back down, and now you're the bad guy and I'm the good guy. And so we change roles. But I think where we're going with that is that's what ascending means. We're elevating past all that. And maybe we don't have to come back a million times to learn that we're trying to focus on forgiveness and freedom and releasing and healing from that. So maybe we can, start to have some new experiences that we don't even know about, instead of repeating all the old things. The same way as healers and holistic people will understand this a little bit. I bet your businesses are changing and your business ideas and models are changing, because the community doesn't just need new things and different things, but so do you. As a healer, as a teacher, as whatever your modality is, which is why it's so important to get into connection with spirit so that you can hear what the leading is, where they're leading you to help. My prayer has always been, use me and lead me. If you're going to use me and lead me, I need to listen, right? I need to pay attention. So let's say me personally, I only want to teach about the angels or mediumship or do XYZ, and the angels spirit has a different story for me. Maybe I'll be sad and maybe I'll have some resistance to it. But if I really want to be present, if I really want to do the work I came to this planet to do, I'll ask for the information, I'll receive the information, and then I'll act on it. And it won't be easy for all the time. It won't be easy for everybody, but this is the call. This is the calling. This is what we're called to do right now. And are we willing to do it? That's what you have to ask yourself. Are you willing to do it? Are you willing to ask the question? Are you willing to hear the answer? And are you willing to follow through with the action?
Action, yeah. As your your balloon is spinning behind your head.
A balloon of love. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we needed love because that's what we're putting out, peace and love in the world. So I need that to go out. And that's another thing. Perfect example. Maybe you want to put out a prayer. Maybe you want to put out a thought. Maybe you want to put out a balloon. Maybe you want to put out your breath. Maybe find ways of maybe you want to draw a picture. Maybe you want to get out your crayons. Maybe we could go on. Maybe you want to plant something, plant seeds. There's so many ways to express yourself that's positive and putting that out into the world, but it has to come from you individually. And, I don't want to keep repeating the same thing, but this is the crossroads we're at, that our feet are being held to the fire of choice, and we need to make a choice, because every thought that we put out there matters.
And just flushing your own self with love, and whether it's white light or golden light or pink light or whatever color comes to mind, but I find that like the gold and the white, just let it come through you, and you could just picture basically like you're hollow through your center, and just let that light go through your whole center and outward, and just flush out anything that doesn't serve you, and it just will leave you in a higher state. And if you want to combine that with holding a crystal or taking a walk or listening to some kind of chant or doing a mudra or dancing and singing, but like to kind of consciously reset yourself, to just clear your energy from the inside out, and to call on for help, to do this for others. I mean, it's crazy. The distance healing blows my mind that it works. I mean,
So
and I'm doing it on people, and sometimes like I texted my one friend, I'm gonna be like a minute late, and she said she was lying from the time I told her to, which was like 2 minutes, and then she's like, all of a sudden she felt it like kick on, and she was like, oop, here it comes. So it's just like, and that's, you know, yes, I do this for a job, but you can send love and prayers to anybody. You don't have to be a Reiki master.
that's why I tell people, they send me a text, say, I need, good, tell people I need love, I need a thought, I need a prayer for my animals or my loved ones or this situation, and you send it with your thought and your love in your heart and not complicated.
You can just like paint the person with, you know, picture like you're painting them literally, or inflating them like a, you know, like a bike inflator, you know, whatever.
Surround them. No, bike pump, that's good. Air.
But like, just however, use your creative imagination. You have so many ideas that can come to you.
Them, whatever.
Yeah, bubbles, whatever, heart shapes.
I like that.
You know, you can picture in a column of light. Like I think I say that with some of my Reiki training, kind of just picturing it like in Star Trek, you know, like that, the transporter or whatever. But just like picture them in a column of light. Like send that to those, you know, to those that like Maura challenged us with, those that we don't want to. Send the love to them, and or connect to your heart to their, and like picture like inflating them. But just, you know, or look at a whole state, or look at the whole country, or look at the whole planet, and you can picture the planet being this big, and just, you know, sending it into the planet from the outside in, inside out. And that's what happens a lot when we do the healing circles, where we see it. We'll see the earth kind of pulsate and kind of respond in like, oh, thanks. You know, like it's really super cool, and it's not that hard to do. It's just intention, you know, and our energy flows where, you know, attention goes. So
Reiki teaches us we don't give Reiki without receiving it. So it's the same thing for love. You won't be giving and sending love and blessings without receiving it yourself. So you're doing something good for
you ride, yeah, you ride the wave.
Yeah. And, you know, just while you're speaking, this came to me, it's been coming to me a lot in the past week, but the difference between, this is where we've lost some things. We do a lot of texting and emailing and even Zooms and stuff and things like that, but people are not hearing our voices or connecting with us or each other like that we used to do, because we used to be in everybody's space, their heart space, their love space. So we do a lot of communicating with technology. There absolutely is a difference. So is that necessary? Sure, to use technology. But the piece of connecting with somebody, a human body, a human heart and energy and flow is completely different. And you can do it on a Zoom or Facebook, whatever, like on there's Marco Polo, you see somebody live. That connection live that you can see a human being is completely different than somebody says, I love you, that's still love. But when somebody is looking at you and says, I love you, or I'm mad at you, or whatever, it's a completely different exchange. And that's what they're bringing us back to having awareness of. So some of those conversations that you want to have with a family member, with a boss, with a spouse, with children, that can't always happen on technology because something so vitally important is lost. Mm-hmm. And we need to start talking about that. So it's not just we're on too much video game, but it's the human connection, which we've heard that before, but it's that human connection energetically that we need to get back to. And it's so important. So we have to start reminding each other, hey, you know, maybe I can see your face the next time we talk. So I have somebody that I talk to a couple times a week, but we say once a week we're going to be face to face so that we can connect that way. And it makes a difference.
I met with my friends for the first time in person last week at the park. And it was so hard when we left. We're like, see ya. It was really tricky because it's like that makes it feel complete, that hug goodbye. So
it does. We're in new times, I know, but it's funny, before when you were talking about the hollowness and putting, I was reminded of the other day, and reminded again now, we used to say somebody's spacing out, right? Like, oh, they're all spaced out, 70s, 80s talk, you know, people are spaced out. But the truth is their spirit is asking us to stop spacing out and not space out anymore. We need to be attentive. We need to be aware. We need to be present. That's what all those messages of, are you present? Are you being present? That's what they meant, because we weren't being. aware and present. And now we have no choice to be, unless, I'm going to go back to the next thing that could happen. If we are not going to pay attention, we're going to also create personal illnesses. And I know that's for a whole other day, but it's important to know that we're going to start creating imbalances physically and emotionally and spiritually in ourselves that are going to transform as illnesses moving forward if we don't start paying attention to this message.
Yeah, you got to listen to the whispers before they become screams. And having that moment of stillness. Oh yeah, and like talking about being still also makes us more aware of our emotions. And the other day my sister said she was in a Zoom call for work, and the boss or whoever decided to like lead them into like a 3-minute like meditation, just like a breathing. I don't know how deep they went, but my sister said once they did that, like she cried and like a whole bunch of people cried. And I said, I know, I felt the same way, because I was kind of walking around a little bit angry, a little bit like agitated or just weird, just weird. And when I sat down and got still to start working on my client, I started to cry, because it's just like, we're just like, we're like walking around like just flustered and not really connecting into anything.
We need
and once that stillness was there, the tears came, and it was just like, it's so healthy to create that space to listen.
Absolutely. And I don't know if I can see if people are commenting. I haven't been able to look while we're doing it. It's just so weird to do it from here, but
right.
I like that Janine says, the Blessed Mother Mary tells us to pray for the ones who need it most. And although I believe that, I think everybody needs it. The people that need it most, which, we talked about the cops, but we need to pray for the good, the bad, the in-between, and again, responsibility. And there's the other thing, I love prayer groups. I'm on a couple of them on Facebook, because when we ask somebody to join you in prayer for something, to me, it's that fast forward zap button that gets there even faster. And we should be practicing that. Asking others to join you. You must see a lot that say, oh, tonight at 8:00, could you send out peace? Mm-hmm. Our friend Elizabeth, she says 12 o'clock noon. She's been sending out peace years upon years upon years at 12 noon. And she has a group that join her. I think it's fantastic. Things like that we can join together with other people to send out these prayers, these good vibes, and that we can do through text and through remind each other and do that collectively until we can all get back together and do it in person.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I committed to doing them on Mondays at the beginning of the lockdown, and I just stuck it out. Sometimes I don't want to do it, but I always have to do it because I have accountability. I'm the one hosting it. And then, but what we experience is always amazing. And then when you are in a collective connection in that way with other people with the same intentions, you'll have overlapping visions and experiences. And that just helps solidify that this is real and what we're doing is having an impact.
So I'm going to ask the question to people out there, take your time to figure out what your answers are. But what are your days and your weeks going to look like when it comes to the two questions? Because we have two things going on now. There's the whole issue of racism and all that it entails, and there is still the political realm of going on, and the COVID, and they're all interconnected and separate and all. So if you don't pay attention to ask yourself, so what am I doing today about that, or this week about that? And so there's different, I'm going to break it down a little bit. Self-care, are you going to listen to news? You're going to pent everything up. You're going to feel, overwhelmed. Or, okay, I meditate each day, or I drink my coffee, or I do something creative. Today, my nephew and his girlfriend came over, social distancing outside. So I had this big table, and we sat far away from each other, and we painted. It was like craft day. It was awesome. And I have to tell you, it made such a big difference for me. And what are you doing? Like meditating? Are we walking? And that's spiritually. And then what are you doing for this education piece we went over in the beginning of this conversation? Are you learning something? Are you choosing to ask the questions? And then where are you bringing it to? Are you enlisting other people? Are you calling them out on their bullshit? Are you pointing it out? Are you angry? honor your feelings. Are you sad? Honor those feelings, but don't keep it all in and don't let it go down the rabbit hole, because there's the opportunity for so many rabbit holes right now. But it's our job and our duty to pick up that gauntlet that's been thrown to try to take this over a different line into some healing.
And then that was like the first note I took from a girl I follow, and it was like, I am feeling anger, instead of saying I'm angry. So just let the feelings wash through you. Don't overly identify to them. Just sometimes they come like weather patterns, like they just kind of wash over, and this is the way it is today. But don't kind of overly wrap it into who you are. Just, I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling
angry, frustrated, and I'm feeling grateful for the opportunity for us to do something different. And I'm feeling heartbroken. So I know a lot of people feel the same similar things as that, but each person should be asking those questions and not staying in that energy every moment of every day. Yeah. When I'm actively learning or picking up a book or asking the questions, where we could become separated from those feelings so that they don't have a grip on us. And at the same time, we're doing those self-care. So like I said, separate those things out. I'll give you another example. Overreacting is a book by Lucy Dickinson, and it is literally about a memoir of anxious proportions, but it is about anxiety. And I'll say this. The reason why I love this book is if you can see yourself in the pages, and if you don't have any anxiety or stress and you want to learn what other people go through, this book is a mirror into the soul of somebody who has experienced this at such a great level. And so, and by great, I mean deep, a deep level. And so these are the ways we educate ourselves. These are the tools that we pick up and explore and say, what's coming to me, and, what signs am I getting? I go back to this every time. Ask spirit, ask the universe for signs for you, because what's for me is not necessarily for you, and what you have to do.
Pay attention when they happen. The other day, when I was running, I saw a woodpecker on a telephone pole, and I kind of noticed it, whatever. Then I was run some more. I saw a woodpecker on a gutter at a house, making a very loud noise. And then I was sitting by my tree, and I heard a thump, thump, thump. I didn't know what it was, because that's a woodpecker. Woodpecker with success, like hitting a tree and getting food. Like it wasn't just, so it was like kind of a different sound. And I look over, and there's the woodpecker eating, getting its breakfast out of the tree. And then I went, okay, third woodpecker in like 10 minutes. Let me Google it. So I Google it, and then I look up, and the woodpecker's gone. It's like, got the message, see ya,
Right.
So third time's a charm.
Because people need to pay attention to those, the way they come through animals, through numbers, through, I say this all the time. Look up in the sky. It's not just angel wings. There's all kinds of different pictures we can see in the clouds. The numbers, when we look up angel numbers, they have such great information, nudges and your own intuition to look things up. You might get a word in your head and you have to read more about peace or any word in the world, because there's something in there that you need to connect. Last time I said this, and this is so important, they're talking to us about paying attention to pictures and images. So Google images, Pinterest, I don't care what you go on, but pictures that raise your vibration and help you connect to a different energy helps us to heal.
Adrian commented, can you list the books you mentioned in this chat? So just so you know.
Oh, to type them in.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you, Adrian.
And then Karen, I don't know, Kasai, said, yesterday we had horrible storms, so much energy, felt like God was in charge, moving out the stagnation of complacency. I love storms. I love storms so much. I guess it's the witchy aspect. I don't know.
I love thunder and lightning. That's the sounds I put on at night, because I feel like it's a cleansing, let go of the day, peace. And I was some kind of weather kid in the past life, but that's for another day. I think we touched on a lot of great points. I know we've been on here an hour already. Time goes by really quickly, but the reason why I have so much hope, and I'm going to talk about hope for a second, is because the people that I know, your community, our community, the people that they want to help. They have these great big open hurt hearts right now, but they want to do something. So we can collectively put that together. And other people are doing that all over the country. And the hope is that those things come together to this collective consciousness can shift. It can make a difference. And we can do this. And I believe that in my heart. I believe that we can make this happen.
It feels like tangible,
We just have to keep having the hard discussions and conversations, asking the difficult questions, being transparent and being there for each other and loving ourselves through all of this so that we can get to the goal, which is peace.
Yeah. Be the peace you want to see. Be the change you want to see in the world. So it's awesome.
Well, thank you for this, and for asking and for putting this together. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone being here and watching us and sharing this video so that other people can learn and ask questions and get on board with us, because obviously everyone that's hearing this, you know, we're feeling that tethered line of commitment that we're all in this together. And I used to hate that saying we're all in this together, because it certainly doesn't feel like, most especially I'm sure for the African American community, that we're all in this together. But I'd like us to all be in this together so we can heal that and we can get everyone to believe that there is a chance for equality in our lifetimes.
Well, I'm so glad. More like last week, whatever, you just reached out to me and then poof, here it was. And it was even from the time that we reached out to we spoke last week, it changed from the time we spoke to this. And then yesterday, Maura goes to promote it. She's like, we look really happy in that picture. We should change the picture. I was like, I know, I just put it together so fast. And I wasn't even there yet. Like, it hadn't even fully sunk in where we were yet, you know? And
really shifted.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. I'm glad you said that, because things are shifting much quicker now than they were before. And that can be a good thing if we use it to our advantage.
And if I was working on a lady that I hadn't worked on since the beginning, I worked on her like the first week of the COVID lockdown, and then I worked on her again. And I looked at my old notes after I was done working on her. I looked at my old notes of her, and it was so drastically different. And even when I looked at her energy, I could feel that she it looked like there's that central column, and she had like a spiral, and it was like she was like, woo, like she got transitioned to another vibration. And I was like, I said, like, I don't know this lady really. And I told her, you know, what I felt and saw. And she said, yeah, it's amazing. She says she was working with somebody one-on-one, like once a week for the last 6 weeks. And she was really working on herself. And it was like night and day. So like right now, these changes like are pretty rapid. So if you're feeling weird, I've had a lot of clients recently, and I've told them, research ascension symptoms. So if you are having like headaches or dizziness, or I don't even know, whatever the symptoms are, but if you look up ascension symptoms, you might be feeling, that might be an explanation as to why you feel different physically, because you are ascending, you're evolving as like a species. Like, it's kind of crazy. But
and we're going to be talking more about this in the coming months, I'm sure. I love that Diane Ferrari said something one of her mentors always says, is that we're all in the same storm, but we're all not in the same boat.
I thought that when you said that before, I thought that quote.
That is such a wonderful way to put it, and it can make us so sad, right? But it can also give us the opportunity to have compassion and to do something about this. And everything that you just said, you know, it's brand new times, meaning we've never seen these kind of energies before. We'll probably never see them again, but right now we can also take some pride in being able to have this opportunity to do something about it. And so that's what I'm holding on to. That's where the hope comes from. That's where the excitement to make a difference comes from, and everyone joining us to do that.
I know, it's like, bring it, we're ready. So.
This is what we've trained for.
Exactly, I know, totally.
So let's do it, you know. Hopefully they'll guide us with grace and with light. I'm so appreciative and so grateful, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening and sharing and being part of this. And I thank you, Karen, because it's just wonderful. It's always wonderful to work with you and hang out with you in your space, and all that you're doing and all that you help. It makes such a big difference.
Thank you, and same to you, because I'm just honored to have you. So it's a wonderful symbiotic experience.
I can't wait to open Sapphire Holistic Center again, so people can come back out. And what's going on with? Isn't it just divine order the way it happened with
the new space? Yeah, I don't know. I haven't signed the lease yet, but a new space is yet to come. But it'll be in downtown Westwood when it does. So
the way it worked out, it's just working out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I'm grateful.
Well, bring everybody back together, but until then, our love and our heart to you guys, and I know you're giving it back to us, so thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, and have a good night. Thanks, Maura. See you guys.